Trish. Welcome back to my channel. It is another cold and rainy night in the Pacific Northwest, and I am cooking solo tonight because my husband is at work. Tonight we are making chicken and dumplings. This is an unorthodox way to go about it, and I'm going to throw in a couple of variations for you to implement depending on what your taste is. If you want to actually use chicken or if you want to make a vegetarian or even vegan version of it. What really brings out the flavor in this dish is the seasonings. So whether you're using chicken or plant-based chicken substitute or a sweet potato, it's going to be really delicious and absolutely hit the spot. What we want to do first, I have gathered my vegetables from the fridge and freezer that were left over, and I never have a set plan about what's going to go into it until I see what's in the fridge. So I've got some frozen peas, frozen broccoli, I have half of a sweet potato, a regular white potato, some carrots, and half of an onion. I'm going to throw the onion into the saute pan and brown that up. Olive oil is going to be your friend in this recipe. The key to making anything taste like chicken is olive oil and either poultry seasoning or sage. Sage is the number one. Poultry seasoning is just a combination of other things that I would put in anyways. It's got thyme, rosemary, sage, a little parsley, and some onion powder. I also add accent. Accent has MSG in it, which will not hurt you. I think a lot of us that grew up in the 70s and 80s kind of thought that it would, but it won't. It just really enhances the flavor of whatever you're making so that your dumplings don't taste doughy. They taste seasoned and flavorful. To get started, we're going to put the onion in the frying pan with the olive oil, and we're also going to saute our sweet potato because that's what I'm using for a meat substitute. For this next part, I'm going to start with olive oil. I think it lends itself to a more authentic flavor, though you can use butter if you prefer. I'm going to put in some sweet onion that I've diced, and for my meat substitute, I'm going to use sweet potato. I will saute those for about 5 minutes over medium heat. To the stock pot, I'm going to add my leftover veggies. Today I've got some frozen broccoli, frozen peas, and then I have a leftover russet potato that I've diced, and some carrots. We're almost ready. I'm going to add some vegetable broth to the stock pot, and then my last step is to add our meat substitute, which for me is the sweet potatoes and the onion. Our soup base is cooking, and what we're going to do next is make our dumplings. Now the key to the dumplings is the seasoning. I measure out a scoop of flour for each dumpling that I want to make, and honestly it'll probably make 2. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And by the time they're done and they're all swollen up, that'll be about 8, which is all we need. Then we're going to put in some poultry seasoning. Poultry seasoning is a combination of the things that I mentioned earlier, the sage, the thyme, mostly sage. You cannot leave out the sage. Salt isn't actually called for, but this is kind of my emotional support salt. When I cook, I feel like I should add it. Pink Himalayan is so yummy. And we're going to put in some accent. I like mine to have a little bit of green speck in them. So I'm going to put some parsley flakes. That's not necessary. It just makes them pretty. And I need baking powder. I'm going to put in about a teaspoon. So I'm going to mix all of the dry ingredients up. It's just like making drop biscuits, really. And I'm going to add a little bit of cold water. I'm going to save just a little tiny bit of that, and you'll see why here in a minute. Okay, my biscuits are a little bit wet, and I like the biscuits to kind of be rock hard. So I am going to add a little more flour. I use biscuits and dumplings kind of interchangeably. It's essentially the same thing. It just matters how you cook it. If it's baked, it's a biscuit, and if it's steamed in the pot, it's a dumpling. Same ingredients, really. Okay, this is nice and dry, and we're gonna let that ball of dough rest for just a minute. We're gonna hit the wine real quick. And we're gonna take the leftover water that we saved, and we're gonna add a little bit of cornstarch. Make sure the water is cold. We're gonna add this to our soup broth, and it will thicken it up and make it kind of a gravy, and that way our dumplings don't sink all the way to the bottom. Okay, I'm gonna pour this in, and then I'm gonna give it a stir and watch the gravy thicken, and then we'll drop our dough in by the spoonful, and we'll make our dumplings. We need to thicken the broth, and we're going to do this by adding the cornstarch. It's really important to use cold water or you're going to have lumpy gravy. And you want this to be like an actual gravy. So I've mixed it with cold water, and I'm going to stir it as I add it. That will give us a very smooth consistency. After that, I'm going to add a little bit of sour cream. You can also use the non-dairy version of this, and it works just as well. The cornstarch helps it to bind. We'll let that simmer, and then it's time to add our dumplings. I do this by using a small cookie scoop, and I just set them gently on top. We don't want to drop it from a distance and have them sink to the bottom. The dumplings themselves aren't complicated, but you have got to let them cook covered up for at least 10 minutes. I know it's hard to resist the urge to peek, but you've really got to wait for the timer to go off. When it's done, it should look just like this. It smells so good. And this is what it looks like. It's so beautiful, and it's warm, it's hearty, it will fill you up. And it's a really flexible recipe. You can add chicken if that's your preference. You can also make it vegan. You don't have to add regular dairy-based sour cream. You can add the vegan version of it if you prefer. I think this will be a crowd pleaser. I hope you make it, and I hope you love it. Bon appetit.